Hey guys, what's up? I'm Erin and welcome back to the channel. Imagine stepping into retirement with just one check to rely on. No pension, no investment income, just Social Security. Could you make it work? For some people, that's not a thought experiment, it's reality. And for others, even with savings, Social Security still ends up being the backbone of retirement. So today, I want to take a real look at this question. Can you retire on Social Security alone? We'll walk through what the data actually says, some surprising nuance behind these numbers, and some real-life examples to show what these benefits could really cover. On the surface, it sounds pretty straightforward. About half of all people age 65 and older live in households where Social Security makes up at least half of their income, and around a quarter rely on it for 90% or more of their income. Now, when we hear stats like that, it's so easy to picture a retiree with no savings and no investments and maybe living a meager lifestyle. But the reality is more nuanced than that. This group is really made up of two very different retirees. First, you have lower income, low asset retirees. They may not have pensions, they may not have meaningful savings or any income from investments. For them, Social Security isn't a piece of the puzzle, it is the puzzle, and it might be the dominant or only source of income in retirement. Then, on the other side, you've got middle and upper income retirees. These households often do have savings or other income sources that they could turn to, but their Social Security benefits are large enough that they cover half or more than what their living expenses are in retirement. And here's a very important detail. The Center for Retirement Research at Boston College has shown that the true share of households relying on Social Security for half their income is probably closer to 40%, not 50%. Why the difference? Well, the surveys from the Social Security Administration tend to routinely underreport pension income and income from investments. This makes the reliance on Social Security look higher than it actually is. And within that 40% figure, it's estimated that about 70% are low asset retirees, while about 30% are middle or higher income households whose robust Social Security checks reduce their reliance on other income sources. So what does Social Security actually look like in retirement? Let's put some real numbers on the table. The average monthly benefit for retired workers in 2025 is about $2,000, or roughly $24,000 a year. If you're a single retiree, that's a lean living. It might cover the basics, but not much more. In a dual earner household, if both spouses are receiving the average benefit, it jumps to $48,000 a year. Now, in the right situation, with a completely paid off home, perhaps no other debts to speak of, living in a modest cost of living area, and no appetite for, say, luxury travel, this could be a workable income in retirement, but it depends on your situation. Now, on the opposite end of the spectrum, we have the max Social Security benefits at respective retirement age. Claiming early at 62, the max benefit as of 2025 is $2,831 a month. Claiming at full retirement age, it's about $4,000 a month. And if you wait all the way up to the age of 70, the max benefit is about $5,100 a month. That's anywhere from $34,000 to $61,000 a year of guaranteed and inflation-adjusted income. But keep in mind, in order to get the maximum benefit, you would have to have the maximum taxable earnings for 35 years. This is not that common. That's why less than 1% of Social Security retiree recipients receive the maximum benefit. In this situation, let's say we add in a spouse who has their own Social Security benefit, or maybe they claim spousal benefits. Now we're layering in even more income. In this type of situation, it's pretty easy to see why Social Security would be such a dominant income source in retirement. But most retiree households are going to fall somewhere in the middle. They're not going to be receiving the absolute minimum benefit, and they're not going to be receiving the absolute maximum benefit. So what might it look like if we run some more typical numbers for a typical retiree household? Very important to note, just because you may not be receiving the maximum Social Security benefit doesn't mean Social Security won't play a huge role in your household income. To put it into context, let's look at household earnings. The median household income as of 2023, the most recent data available, was just under $81,000. But that figure blends everyone together. Single households, married households, dual income families, everyone. If we isolate just married households, the median jumps to just under $114,000 a year. Now, why does this matter? Because married households are far more likely, but not guaranteed, to have two income earners. Now, of course, there are plenty of married households that have a single income earner, and there are plenty of unmarried households that have two income earners. But since the U.S. Census Bureau and the Federal Reserve do not break down data by single income earning households and dual income earning households, this is the best proxy we have. It nudges us closer. With that frame in mind, let's look at what Social Security benefits might look like with different households and different income levels. Let's walk through a few examples to see how Social Security benefits actually play out. Suppose you're a single worker who averaged $80,000 a year across your career. Maybe you started out lower, maybe you earned more later on, but across 35 years, that's your inflation-adjusted average. At full retirement age, your Social Security check would be about $3,000 a month, or just over $35,000 a year. Now that's a big drop from an $80,000 income. Most people in this situation would need other income sources to maintain the level of lifestyle that they were used to in retirement. But what if that same $80,000 household income was split between two workers, one earning $50,000 a year and the other earning $30,000 a year? Because Social Security is progressive, the formula favors lower earnings. So in this case, the $50,000 worker would get about $2,155 in Social Security benefits at full retirement age. The $30,000 worker would get about $1,600 in benefits a month. Together, that's nearly $3,800 a month in benefits, or about $45,000 a year. Same household income, but nearly 30% higher Social Security benefits because the income was earned by two people instead of one. And that's one of those unique features of Social Security. Those first dollars you earn in your lifetime are replaced at a much higher rate. For some retirees, $40,000 a year in Social Security benefits might be enough to cover all of their expenses in retirement. For others, it might fall short. Now let's step it up to the married household earning the median income for married households, about $114,000 a year. If that income was earned by one individual in the household, they'd receive about $3,700 a month at full retirement age. Their spouse, even if they never worked outside the home, could claim spousal benefit equal to half of that, or about $1,900 a month, as long as they waited until their full retirement age to claim. So together, that's nearly $67,000 a year in Social Security benefits. But what if that $114,000 income was split evenly among both workers? So let's say they each earned $57,000 a year. The formula works differently. Each worker would get about $2,300 a month. Or together, they'd earn about $56,000 a year in Social Security benefits at full retirement age. That's a full $10,000 less than the single earner household example. Why is that? Because Social Security was originally designed in the 1930s with a breadwinner plus homemaker model in mind. Even today, the system tends to be more favorable to one high-income earning spouse with a non-working partner than it is when the same income is spread equally among two spouses. These examples show just how much the way income is split within a household matters. Two families might earn the exact same total income over their careers. But depending on whether that income came from a single high-income earner, two unequal earners, or two earners who had relatively equal incomes, the payout from Social Security could look dramatically different. And how does all of this stack up against what retirees actually spend? According to the latest available data, households ages 65 to 74 spend about $65,000 a year. Households 75 and older spend about $53,000 a year. Now, this is a very important note here. These figures are averages, not medians, and this is the best data we have from the U.S. Census Bureau. They don't give us median figures when it comes to spending. It's important to point this out because previously in the video, we were talking about median incomes. So naturally, these averages are going to be pulled higher by those who are spending more in retirement. If we had median figures to deal with, we would likely see smaller numbers here. With some of the examples we walked through, we got pretty darn close to these numbers, and with one of the examples, we actually surpassed this average spending data for those ages 65 to 74. So it shows how impactful those Social Security benefits can really be. But let's say you wanted to target the $65,000 a year in average spending for 65 to 74-year-olds, but you wanted to receive that just from Social Security. Well, if you are a single income earner, you have kind of a problem here. You'd need over $5,400 a month in benefits. At the individual level, that's impossible because the absolute max benefit at age 70 in 2025 is about $5,100 a month. And to hit that, you'd need 35 straight years of maximum taxable earnings. So if you're on track to receive the max Social Security payout and you delay until 70 to claim, you could get close, but you wouldn't exactly hit this number. But as a dual income household, it's far more realistic. If we have two workers averaging $70,000 a year each would receive about $2,700 a month at full retirement age. Combined, that would be just under $65,000 a year, almost exactly what the average 65 to 74-year-old household spends. And here we're talking about a very realistic income. We're talking about an annual income of $70,000 a year. It's not unthinkable. That very well could mean, in the right circumstances, say you're debt-free, a modest lifestyle, and reasonable cost of living area, a couple's Social Security benefits alone could realistically cover the average retirement spending. And not in a paycheck-to-paycheck way, but more in a way that allows them to live the lifestyle that they want without having to make drastic cuts or rely heavily on investments. But here's the bottom line. These numbers are averages. They're not unique to you. It doesn't matter what number you read about in a headline or hear about in a video. What matters most is how your income stacks up against your lifestyle in retirement. Period. End of story. Here's the truth. For almost everyone, Social Security is going to be a significant, if not the single biggest, piece of retirement income. It's guaranteed, it's inflation protected, it lasts as long as you do. But whether or not you can rely on Social Security alone in retirement really depends on three things. One, how robust your benefit is. Are you a single income earning household? Are you a part of a dual income earning household? What does your lifetime income really look like from Social Security? Two, what type of debts are you carrying? Are you going into retirement completely debt-free? Or are you going into retirement with a mortgage, a loan, or any other obligations? And three, the lifestyle you want. Do you want a more simple lifestyle where you live a little bit more locally? Or do you want more freedom, more luxuries, more travel? It comes down to your preference. There is no right or wrong answer here. If gardening, spending time with family, your grandkids, watching the sunset brings you the most joy, if living a simple lifestyle brings you the most joy, that very well may be entirely covered by Social Security. But if you want more adventure, if you want more travel, if you want to have more expensive hobbies, you might need more in the way of savings and investments, or perhaps a pension to help close the gap beyond what Social Security covers. And when you claim Social Security matters. Claim early and you'll receive a reduced benefit. Claim later and you'll receive a higher benefit. And in every example here that we went over in this video had our individual claiming at full retirement age. But you have flexibility here, and this will absolutely affect your income in retirement. And one more thing to add here. If you were a higher income earner throughout your working years, it's very likely that your lifestyle inflated over time. Not guaranteed, but for many people it does. When most people have the ability to spend more, they tend to do exactly that. And it's likely that you'd want to continue that lifestyle into retirement. And yes, higher income earners tend to have higher Social Security benefits, But there reaches a point where you get a ceiling on your benefits, and if you want to continue this inflated lifestyle in your retirement years, the more likely it is that you're going to need to have investments to fill the gap to maintain it. And none of the message in this video is don't save. Quite the opposite. I would never encourage anyone to rely on Social Security alone in retirement. I think we all need savings and investments to fall back on. But understanding how much of your spending in retirement is already covered by Social Security is vital. Knowing how big this gap is tells you exactly how much you need in investments going into retirement. And the gap may surprise you. It may be smaller than you think, it may be larger than you think, but knowing what it is allows you to accurately plan for your future. And if you do end up in a situation where Social Security covers half of your income, or even 90% or more of your income in retirement, my hope is that it's because those benefits cover the essentials and the lifestyle you want to live, not because there was a lack of saving along the way. So can you retire on Social Security alone? For some, yes. But for most people, Social Security would better serve as the foundation, not the full house. Build on it whatever other income streams you can, and then once you reach retirement, you'll have the freedom to choose the lifestyle you actually want. So what is your thought on this? Have you gone into retirement? What percentage are you relying on Social Security? Share it in the comments down below. I post new videos every single week. If you got anything at all out of this one, please give it a like. If you're new here, please consider subscribing, or if you know of someone who might get something out of this type of content, please consider sharing. I'll see you soon. Bye. And some real life. Security is not, I don't like it. Let's go again. Benefits. We're stuck today. I'm dying. Display. Nope. Which makes Social Security look like. To have, I don't want to say remember because we didn't talk about it in this video. We did in other videos. Not this one. Maybe you're new to the channel. I don't know. Welcome. In order to be, I almost said entitled. That wouldn't work here. There are plenty of married income households. That's not a phrase. Paint a picture. I don't like it. It's not going well. This is just something you gotta dance around.